I've been asked multiple times here in the last couple weeks by dealer and general manager friends and clients, how do I train my sales team in such turbulent times? I mean, first it's a pandemic, and then we have to factor in the highest unemployment that most of us have seen in our lifetimes, and now we've got 35, 40, 50 cities in the country burning because of riots. And my answer is pretty much the same each time. Well, don't train them like you used to train them. Don't train them like they were trained in 1980s and 90s and the 2010s, and don't train them like you trained them in 2015. Number one, you need to modernize the meet and greet. Most salespeople are using a meet and greet that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50 years old. It has to be modernized. Most salespeople need to learn how to do a meet and greet, not just in person. They need to do a good meet and greet on the phone, a good meet and greet via video, a good meet and greet via chat or text, a good meet and greet by smoke signals if necessary. But most salespeople need a lot of help when it comes to modernizing their meet and greet. Just as importantly, they need to modernize their discovery process or needs assessment, whatever you want to call it. So much of the work is being done at home by customers. They're qualifying themselves. They're creating their own idea of what the right vehicle is. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. But if they're not, and they come to your store and your sales team doesn't help them pick out the right vehicle, they're going to end up buying the right vehicle somewhere else. So two critical elements of training a sales team today: modernize the meet and greet, modernize the discovery. Most sales teams need to learn what transparency is and how to communicate it. It's been a buzzword for a long time, but most salespeople can't even define it, much less communicate it. And on the communication side, sales teams need to understand that a conversation is a much more effective way to communicate than a presentation. The problem is most sales trainers and a lot of managers are teaching salespeople to make presentations. That's one-way communication. A conversation is two-way communication. It is a far more effective way to communicate, but we have to teach the salespeople how to do it. Now, this kills me. I see so many salespeople doing so many things right in order to get the customer to write up. I mean, obviously, if you get me to write up, I like you, your store's fine, and I probably want the vehicle, and hopefully you've landed me on one that I can afford. And then when it comes to presenting the proposal, my heavens, they do a horrible job of presenting the proposal. They present it in a manner that literally creates objections. Whereas a professional, someone who knows what they're doing, when they present the proposal, it will not just eliminate objections, it'll also eliminate lessen the severity of objections. So most salespeople need a lot of help when it comes to presenting the numbers. And this has been a problem probably for the last 40 years, and it's still a problem today, and that problem is having a salesperson ask for the business, the close. Look, it doesn't do a salesperson any good to be really, really nice. It doesn't do them any good to be enthusiastic about their product and their dealership. It doesn't do them any good to know their product backwards and forwards and understand the features and benefits if they can't close. If the customer doesn't say yes, there is no value exchange. Most salespeople don't know how to close. Those that do know how to close don't know very many closes, and closing is the key to the value exchange. Now, salespeople today need to learn the difference between negotiation and justification. Negotiation is the way most of us were brought up in the business. It was easy. Everything is in retrospect. New car margins were large. Used car margins were large. Customers started low, we started high. We ended up about an hour and a half later somewhere happily in the middle where the customers got a nice discount and we've got a nice gross profit. Well, those conditions don't exist anymore. Most dealers are advertising new and used vehicles at prices that are void of too much gross. There's not enough to play with. Justification is going to be the mark of the professional salesperson and manager in the future, not the ability to negotiate. Negotiating is easy. Justification is difficult. Most salespeople and a lot of managers aren't prepared to handle the predictable objections. Look, you get me to write up, I like you, I like the dealership, I like the car. What can I object to? Well, let me count the ways. I can object to the price, I can object to the payment, I can object to the cash down, I can object to the trade-in value. Those are 4 predictable objections. If your sales team doesn't know 3 or 4 price justifications, 3 or 4 payment justifications, 2 or 3 trade-in justifications, and 6 or 7 cash justifications, they're not prepared. And if they're not prepared, they are prepared. They are prepared to fail. And once you teach someone how to handle those objections or complaints by using justification strategies and tactics, you have to remind them to reclose. I see lots of salespeople who actually do know what to say when they hear someone give them pushback on a payment or a trade-in or a price, and then they handle it and look at the customer and shut up, but they forget to ask the closing question, so they need to reclose. And lastly, the salespeople who are going to make it in the future and make it in spectacular fashion are the salespeople who are going to understand how to develop a clientele, not just sell a customer. And the problem is management. The problem is us. Look, it's the hero to zero syndrome. It's the 30-day syndrome. Right now, I'm at a dealership in North Carolina, and they had a terrific May. I mean, a couple of the salespeople were, not a couple, they sold almost, 150 cars with like 7 salespeople. So they had some 25 and 30 and 35 unit a month salespeople. But the manager said, everybody's back to zero on June 1st. Today is June 2nd, but they're still back to zero. The problem is, all the business the salespeople did in May, that business can pay them dividends for the rest of their lives if they know how to create a clientele, and most don't, because most sales managers don't know how to help them create a clientele. So, my message today is you probably need to consider retraining your sales team. You need to retrain them for the year 2020. Not the year 2010, not the year 2005, and certainly not the year 1995. At EasyCare, we've got a Retail Impact course, which is the single most modern sales training course that exists. So I would strongly suggest, if you have any interest in increasing the skill level of your sales team, give us a call, shoot us an email. And I'd also like to thank F&I Fuel for this opportunity to post another video. Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Strategic Diversified. All the best to all of you. Hope this was somewhat entertaining and a little bit informational, and I hope everyone's staying healthy. And by the way, business is back in a big way. I left a store in Danville, Virginia this morning that just had their best month ever. The stores here in Burlington, North Carolina, 2 Ford stores, they had record-breaking May and April, and they had a great March too. It's a function of training. Their salespeople are some of the best trained salespeople I've ever seen. They train every single day. It makes a difference. In Atlanta on Friday, I left a Subaru store that had their best month ever, so business is back. I hope you're getting your unfair share. This is Steve Richards. Thanks for your time.